Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where I talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jack.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we're discussing the 9th episode of Season 9 of Stargate SG1, Prototype. When a suspected Ori incursion turns out to be a mysterious anomaly linked to the Stargate, SG1 discovers a hidden safety protocol diverting unauthorized travelers to random planets. I feel like that would have been something they would have had from the beginning, but, cybersecurity wasn't as big a deal to the ancients, I guess. After investigating the true destination, they uncover an ancient laboratory and revive Khalek, a genetically engineered human who initially claims to be a victim. However, they soon discover that he is actually a dangerous human-Goa'uld hybrid and is the son of Anubis. I'm going to put son in air quotes there. With aspirations of ascension and a desire to continue his father's evil, as well as trying to ape Hannibal Lecter as much as possible. Despite attempts to study him as a potential weapon against the Priors, Khalek's rapidly evolving powers make him a deadly threat. Big surprise. And he breaks free and attempts to escape. SG1 is forced to kill him using a reprogrammed device to ensure that he could not return, ultimately choosing to eliminate the threat over the potential benefits of studying him. What are your thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
I like this one. It was interesting seeing Daniel kind of being almost in the position of like, no, we don't need to study him. Like, we need to kill him and eliminate this threat, because he's always the one who wants to study and find a compromise. But he knows that there's no compromise here. So I like that aspect. I liked kind of seeing how the different sides of the issue would try to figure out, okay, can we use this to our advantage, or do we need to just eliminate this threat? And of course the IOA wants their piece and wants to try to research and gain their own gain power through this potentially. But I think this does also kind of lead to the softening of Woolsey a little bit. He's had a couple episodes where he'll kind of go a little bit ways into being good, and then he'll kind of take a step back. And I think this might be kind of his last villainous turn, sort of, and kind of go to really being on the good side for the most part from now on. But yeah, I like this one. I thought it had a lot of good moments and enjoyed it.
What about you, Lisa?
I spent most of this episode shaking my head, going, what are we doing? Like, here's someone in stasis. Let's unfrost them or whatever, and let's bring them back. And then it just felt like the whole episode, maybe if it was earlier this is season 9. Like, we're halfway through season 9, and I just felt like they made really dumb choices through most of this episode. I mean, I hadn't really thought about this one and the last week, the Atlantis conversion one kind of going together until I think, Jeff, you said that they kind of go together. And this one, I just found myself like, what are you doing? Like, yes, you should have more security. Yes, you think his brain is at 75%. Oh, it's at 80%. Just, I don't know. I mean, it was probably, there were good parts of it, sure. But for the most part, I was shaking my head thinking, I've seen y'all. I mean, like, you should know better. You should know better.
To be fair, Cameron Mitchell was the one who pushed the defrost button.
True.
Yeah, and that was kind of
Daniel
funny.
had already touched buttons.
Yeah,
True.
But Daniel can read ancient, so
True.
Yeah.
What about you,
yes,
Victor?
yeah. So I like this episode too for what it is. I mean, it's kind of a one-off. It was written by Alan McCulloch, who will write more episodes this season, and then I think he becomes a producer on Stargate Atlantis. It's always a treat to see Robert Picardo, and I do like, as you said, Jeff, that he kind of, his point of view is understandable and even defensible to some degree in this episode. What else? I thought it was funny that Colonel Mitchell just basically unfreezes the guy accidentally, just by pushing a random button. So I like that as well. What else about this episode? So the stunts were good. We get to see lots of people on wires getting flung about the SGC. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
I did really like Neil Jackson's performance as Khalek. He had that
Yes.
creepy serial killer kind of vibe going on.
Yeah, and I guess he was in a sitcom or not a sitcom, but like maybe a soap opera in the UK. And then Stargate, hired him for this role. And then apparently his movie career kind of just, blew up after this too. And he did, some pretty big movies, which I don't know off the top of my head. So I'm running to but yeah. So, after this, he did a number of movies when you need kind of a very intense, British person in there. He was in Quantum of Solace. Yeah.
Look through his IMDb. There's several things that I've seen him in, I guess, but I don't see it when I look at him in this episode. Like I didn't make the connection.
Yeah. And he does creepy very well. I have seen him in the Sleepy Hollow TV show that was on a while ago. I do remember him in that. But yeah, I know he does do creepy very well. There's the moment where, he's putting on this act when they first thought like thaw him out, and they're like, and so Peter DeLuise as the director gave the actor time to basically go from like, the jig is up, and then, his eyes suddenly turn very evil and stuff. So I thought that was very effective as well.
I was gonna say I liked that they didn't draw that out.
Yeah.
Like his act, like he didn't keep as soon as he knew that Daniel knew, he didn't waste any more time with it. I like that they flipped that quickly.
Yeah. Just to go back a little bit, one thing I didn't get is Anubis is like this really bad guy, right? So why does his security system just send people to like a very nice planet? Like it should just instantly vaporize them if they don't know how to get through, or it should just send them to like a space gate or something, or like a lava world or something.
Yeah, black hole.
Yeah. So that part didn't make any sense. It was cool though, seeing the two Malps. Like that one Malp looks at the other Malp and they're like, "Hello, Malp. How'd you get here?"
Yeah.
I did like that it was a callback to Neardy and her, what was it, Metamorphosis? I think that was season 5, if I had to guess. That we had a callback to that. And I think that's the excuse they gave as to why they were soft-hearted towards him, because at least Daniel and Sam, and I guess Teal'c too, remembered the people that they had encountered and Neardy had been.
I don't think Daniel did. Or was he in that one? Or that was at the Jonas?
I think it was Jonas. You're right. It was Jonas. Yeah. So it was Sam and Teal'c then. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought Teal'c should have said like, neither of you were here for that or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Karen Mitchell did the whole like, I read that file. That was awesome or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good file.
But I did like it that they brought that, they made that connection. But I thought the fact that they danced around, why did Anubis in his half ascended state, like trying to create, like using his old DNA or whatever before he ascended to create somebody to, that to me was a little convoluted to trying to make it fit the plot point.
No, really? No, it was all very convoluted. Yeah. He wanted
cool
to create.
Idea.
Yeah.
Didn't fit.
Yeah.
Well, because you learn, because I mean, when I would say when he ascended, he needed help to ascend as a Gould. So he was trying. I'm assuming the way I took it is he's trying to implant himself, his memory, whatever consciousness, into a human body, and that's advanced enough to ascend, to be able to ascend on its own, rather than because he could only ascend with Oma's help, and then he was sent back in the halfway state by the others. But if he makes it on his own, they're not going to. The ancients wouldn't do anything about it, presumably. So I think that's kind of what they were going for. But it may not have been the best explained, but at least that's the way I took it.
Yeah, and it kind of demystifies ascension a little too much too. They're like, well, when your brain graph gets to 100%, then you ascend, and you're at 75% on the brain graph, and now you're at 80% on the brain graph. And it's like, I don't think any like biological process works, with that degree of certainty and stuff. So.
And they're like, he's evil, so how can he ascend? And I think Daniel was like, well, or I ascend. So,
and that's another thing too, is that they heavily imply that the what's happening to Prototype Man, Khalek or Khalek or whatever his name is like what happened to the priors, and they like jump to this conclusion very early on, and they say, well, this might be what's up with the priors, and then they kind of latch onto that without really explaining how they know. And then I think they go forward with this idea too that, what they've learned in this episode will help them fight the priors. But it doesn't, they haven't really made that connection that what's happening here. So did do the Ori have DNA from before they were Ori and they've used that to build the priors or something? It seems very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it referenced online. They called it an ascendometer.
Yeah.
That's what Cam calls it that.
Oh, did he call
Or,
it on the show? Okay.
Or
I couldn't
Sam
remember where
says
I
it,
saw
but then she says Cam came up with it. But yeah, that was
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was almost laughable with him. Like the brain he's at 80%.
Yeah.
Brain is it's like one of those progress bars when you're moving files over.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not how that works.
The brain has stalled at 78%. Should I reboot it or what?
Reboot it.
Should I hit F5 and reload the page? I don't know.
Kill the process.
Yeah.
That would have been funny.
And it also kind of goes to that whole like you only use 10% of your brain thoroughly debunked myth that you hear about.
You use as much of your brain as you can, pretty much.
Yeah. You probably use all of your brain. I wish more people would use all of their brain, to be honest.
Yeah, it would be nice. Like the writers of this. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I think they were trying to, because with the Atlantis going on too, and with fighting, ascended beings, I think they were trying to bring ascension into more as a concept that, here's like you said, to learn how to fight against, pre-ascension basically. So I think that was maybe why they were trying to add the science into it so that they could then use that later on in SG1 and in Atlantis when they, may encounter ascended beings or partially ascended or whatever. So
yeah. Although it does the whole thing with the Ori being basically evil ascended beings. Like, I wonder why Anubis didn't just try to get in good with them, and I don't think they would have kicked him out.
Well, they didn't know about each other, or at least I guess Anubis may have known about the Ori, but the Ori didn't know about the ancients being ascended, because that was why they kind of stayed over in their side of the galaxy, because they didn't know the ancients were still around.
Yeah.
And then
maybe Anubis liked being the only bad ascended guy.
I just like that implies that like the rules of three-dimensional space still apply to the higher plane. Like, kind of feel like distance wouldn't have any meaning there. But
well, they do say that it was the good ancients, or at least the morally ambiguous ancients were preventing the Ori from finding out. They had put up like a wall of
a shield
of mind or something to keep them out.
Mind wall.
Yeah.
Just a piece of like notebook paper. It says no Ori allowed scrawled on it.
Yeah. Or just like a black piece of paper with some stars on it that they hold in front of our galaxy whenever the Ori look this way or something.
Yeah.
No ancients here.
Yeah.
Or no Alterans here, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's bad and he is evil.
And powerful.
And powerful. And it's implied too that he wants to be shot and experimented on because that will help his brain evolve. And then they realize that he wasn't like baked all the way in the oven, and he can't ascend because he needs to have some more time in the little chamber there, which is pretty convenient because it directly contradicts what they told us earlier in the episode. But whatever.
Yeah, because the whole thing is Woolsey doesn't want Daniel doing the opposite of what Daniel normally does. Just wants to shoot him right there on the spot. Right. Woolsey wants to keep him around so they can learn about him. And they finally convince the general to let them take him back. And as soon as they're going to do it, they're like, oh, we're wrong. Don't do that.
Yeah. Because now he has super hearing. He has force push. He has super hearing. He has IV like clog or IV squeeze that he can do. So his powers aren't really well defined.
Whatever he needs in the moment.
That's true.
He's leveling up. He's getting the XP and he's leveling up.
Yeah.
Branching his skills.
Yeah, he has this little skill tree. He's like, well, do I put the points to force push or do I put the points to super hearing? I don't know what I'll need.
I think one of the things that I don't know, I think I liked it. I'm not sure. Was the whole Daniel just wanting to kill him.
Yeah.
Because we think way back to the beginning of the podcast. So like 4 years ago, the whole idea of Daniel Jackson being the moral voice of the show. I know we had that discussion and there was dissension, and I don't remember who was on what side of all that.
I was on your side for what it's worth.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, in this episode, it's like all the times we've had where Daniel and Jack would like argue back and forth and they just need to be understood and we need to listen. And this one, Daniel just wants to kill him. I mean, just not lock him up, not whatever, just kill him. And then the others are like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, like don't listen to the guy who is actually like ascended with Anubis and like knows what he's actually capable of and what an ascended being is capable of. But
yeah, it was an about face, but I guess we've seen Daniel changing over the last couple of seasons anyway, especially since he de-ascended the last 2 times and all that kind of stuff.
And the only carrot that Woolsey can really dangle in front of him is like, we're going to cut your funding,
Mm-hmm.
But
it was interesting that Woolsey now has like direct oversight into the SGC. So it's not enough for General Landry to make decisions or pick up the phone and call, I don't know who it would be, the president or General Hammond, whoever's running all homeworld security or whatever it is now. But now you got Woolsey.
Yeah. And which is good. I like Robert Picardo. So, I'm in favor of Woolsey, but Sam even says it's like, we used to do, stupid stuff all the time. So how is this any different? Pretty much, like.
Because it's season 9. You should have learned.
Yeah, exactly.
It reminded me a lot of the episode where it was the child of the Harcesis, I think is the term. It was the child of not Apophis and Charlotte, whatever I forget her Gould's name was. So it was similar in that way, except that was kind of an innocent child versus an adult who's potentially fully formed and knows what he is. But I was almost thinking like could they contact the Harcesis child somehow, because he's ascended. Oma's not around, but that child is ascended, and maybe like do the same thing, like block the memory, the Gould memory, whatever. But
or literally everyone in Abydos is ascended.
That's right,
too.
They're all ascended.
Yeah, Skara could have jumped in here.
Well, Oma helped them, so maybe that's why they couldn't, because she's not here anymore.
Oh, okay,
they're just lost.
Yeah,
they're there, but they can't do anything probably.
Because he's just a genetic experiment. Does he have any? I assume that means he doesn't have any sort of real personality of his own. Like he is just a copy.
Well, I think it's like the genetic memory of Anubis, of Anubis's symbiote is in him. So it's like the Harcesis child who would have had the genetic memory but Oma ended up blocking the memory. So.
Yeah, and there, as we mentioned before, in order to get him to know who Daniel Jackson is, they have to narrow it down to a very narrow window when he was created. It's like Anubis took time out from whatever he was doing to come here and work on this, and had his old DNA stored in a jar someplace, and so everything's very convenient in this episode.
Yeah, but I mean, evil young Anubis is fun, and I kind of wish that he didn't bite it at the end.
I'm not sure how he did either, because he was practically bulletproof and had super healing, but
if 2 people shoot him at the same time from different places and he doesn't see it coming, you're good.
But I mean, he got shot twice the other time, and he was just like, I'm fine, but
yeah. My daughter was like, my oldest was like, shoot him in the head. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. He has a very small hitbox.
Well, Daniel's not a marksman either.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I think it's because he was focused on Cam, and Daniel wasn't, on his radar at all, so he could shoot him from he shot him from the side before he could, raise his shield or whatever. And then that kind of shocked him enough that he maybe he thought he was so powerful that couldn't hurt him, and then they just unload on him and do enough damage to, I guess, prevent it.
But then he's laying there, and they're like, "Hey, he's dead."
Yeah, we don't
Let's
need
go
to
get some
check.
Jello.
Yeah,
dial up the black hole planet and throw him in there.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get another Kwoosh kill.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh no, well, the only way we can be sure he's dead is to make him stand in front of the Stargate, and take him out. But no, we do get to see the back of the Stargate. We do get to see what's behind the Stargate, though, so that was cool.
See, I think I guess I'm looking at this going, this was really, I don't want to say a waste of a good evil person, a good potential bad guy. He could have been more interesting than the Ori.
Yeah.
I mean, the damage he could have wrecked across the galaxy could have been really interesting. Except for I wanted to brush his hair out his face. But other than that.
Or if Ball had taken him under his wing, and was trying to teach him how to have fun and drive cars and stuff. But Ball is never really sure if he's gonna kill, take control of the whole situation. So you kind of have this uneasy. It's always fun when two villains are paired up with each other, but they're trying to outbad each other, and they aren't really sure about their alliance and stuff. So that would have been fun to see. But
yeah, good way to resurrect the Gould in a different way. But I don't know. Maybe I just hate the Ori that much.
Well, he actually had some sort of character and personality, which the Ori don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they said he was grown, and I was thinking, so was he? This is where I kind of got lost in it. I got lost the whole time. But how long had he been there? Was he actually raised by anybody, or he was just kind of grown in this machine, popped out fully adult a couple of weeks ago?
It would have had to have been within the past year, because that's when
Yeah.
they defeated Anubis, right? Was within the past year or so. And I mean, or any time, I guess, Anubis knew Daniel, so it could have been any time from season 7 to present day. But yeah, so he's probably only a year or two old, so I hope they feel good about shooting a toddler, basically.
I mean, obviously he's in his terrible twos, so
Yeah, he's just throwing a little tantrum.
Yeah. Okay. And when he had all the things on his head, and the guy is not going to make it comes around to check his nodes or whatever it was going on in his head, and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then Woolsey's all in his face going, well, don't you know the floor is electrified and we've got a
dopamine drip and
and then there's a thing on
shield.
the
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you everything we have set up around here, so you know about it.
It's like the reverse Bond villain of
Right.
Mr. Khalek. I've trapped you in a laser-filled room.
You're like, Woolsey, you're not invited anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know, or they can. I feel like they should set up some sort of Supermax prison on another desolate planet if they want to keep these villains. Take them there,
or
so
take them to the Alpha site or anywhere but Earth. They always bring everything back to Earth, and you should go to the Alpha site first. Make sure do all decontamination there, do all this stuff there, and then when it's safe, then travel back to Earth. But
and it wasn't enough to bring him back, but then they're disassembling the pod and bringing parts of that back too. So they can scan his brain better.
Well, didn't they already bring an Ori to SGC too?
Yeah, hey, we found this guy wandering around and he seems to be cool. Let's bring him back.
And then
he just set himself on fire. Yeah.
They need a firewall planet, basically.
Yeah, they have a big
that's what,
sign on
that's
there.
what should.
It says all are welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the Alpha site should be.
It's a felt banner.
Yeah.
We're going to start singing.
Let us build a base where the Gould can dwell. Yeah.
Or what they should do, or something like this, is get another Stargate, put it on Mars or something, so it can still use figure out a way to where they can shunt things to Mars, and if it's okay on Mars, then they can just use the Prometheus or one of their other ships or something to quickly get back to Earth. Like, they should do something, or at least, a planet that's a close hyper jump away, but I don't know. They don't do that, so.
I'm just thinking about setting up your Stargate network like you'd set up a computer network. Like, you got to have your firewalls, you need to have your load balancers,
Your
put everything in a
DMZs,
private subnet. Yeah. Earth needs to be in a private subnet.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember earlier when Father Corey was still on the podcast with us, he would go through the whole protocol when you come out and you come back from your mission and you need what was it, like the buzzer thing for the
Re2 scanner.
the Re2 scanner. He would like go through this whole list. And I'm like, I thought of him during this episode because I was like,
yeah,
man, add some of this back to your list. This was crazy. This should not, like I said, I just shook my head the whole episode. Like, this should not have happened.
No. And yeah, I mean, it seems clever until you think about it. But I'm going back to the security system where they're like, well, we'll test it now. We'll send a moup with some bacteria in it. Well, of course, any moup would have bacteria on it because people are touching it. But we'll send it with some bacteria on it through. And they're like, hey, that made it through. So let's send a person through next. It's like, do we maybe want to send a moup with like a mouse or a like monkey on it or something, and just to be sure? But nope.
Yeah, it's also Anubis. What was his password? Just like 1 2 3 4 5 or something, because they cracked that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
0 0 0 0
0.
Anubis
Or
rules
with the
Anubis
S as a dollar sign.
Yeah. Hey,
Victor, that's what your name should have said.
Yeah,
there on the screen. Anubis rules.
Anubis rules. Yeah. So some good stuff. Some not good stuff. We did. Ben Browder did a lot of his own stunts in this, where he's like thrown up against the wall. He insisted on doing that himself, and so they, took every precaution and stuff. And so it's kind of cool that he actually did that. They didn't digitally superimpose someone's face on him or anything like that. So.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonder if the wall was squishy in real life.
He had a back pad on and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, but they had the whole harness and rigging and stuff to make him go flying back on and hit the wall.
That sounds like it would be fun, but scary.
Yeah, it's in the featurette that they did on this with Peter DeLuise. He's saying it's more scary for the crew and the other cast members because if the star gets injured, then they have to shut down production and nobody gets paid. So it's a reason they don't usually do it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did we have any alternate language titles for this episode?
Yeah, most of them were some variation on prototype. In German, we get der Prototyp, which is the prototype. And then in Japanese, we get Shisakuhin, which is prototype in Japanese.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Nice. We do have some comments on episode 197, Ex Deus Machina. Keep wanting to correct that. Vyar77, who is our good friend Paul Leone, said, Ball, one of the saving graces of the last few seasons. SG1 got lucky with Cliff Simon. R.I.P. I definitely agree. The Ball episodes are some of the best, especially now. And Professor McCoy, also on Twitter, said, one of my favorite episodes of the series. They really should have taken Ball's deal. Megalomaniacal Gould, LARPing as a tech bro, had advanced the state of Earth's civilian technology by centuries. What could go wrong? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these tech billionaires today are actually Gould, but who knows? So maybe they did take the deal. Yeah. Awesome. Did y'all have any other thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, nothing. I did like when the when Khalek starts attacking the bulletproof glass or whatever, and Woolsey's in there, and he looks very frightened. So I did like that moment from Robert Picardo, kind of making Woolsey think, maybe this wasn't a good idea. Maybe we shouldn't do things like this in the future.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And I do like the scene at the end with him and Dr. Jackson where it kind of humanizes the character. He says, that, I understand why you wanted to take this risk. You were wrong. And he's like, well, yeah, I wish you'd been right, that sort of thing. So I thought that was a really nice moment at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Very fair to the character.
Yeah. Character depth and development. It's a good thing.
Yes.
Awesome. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secret to Stargate, including Carrie O., Christy R., James M., Charles S., and Anthony W. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secret to Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find the video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secret to Stargate and to send feedback, you can visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com and follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. And be sure to check out the SQPN Discord at sqpn.com/Discord. And we'll be back next time with the next episode of Atlantis, Aurora. Until then, Jeff Haecker, thank you for joining me and sharing The Secret to Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. And we placed a bacterial culture inside the Malt's cargo compartment.
Pretty sure that's illegal in some places. And once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to The Secret to Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?